So would we like to call this meeting to order?
We call to order.
Okay, calling the Heritage and Arts Commission meeting, March 28, 2023, starting at 5:31 p.m. And I will call the roll call. Commissioner Etemad.
Here.
Commissioner Gupta.
Here.
Commissioner Farron, absent. Commissioner Fong.
Here.
Commissioner Hall.
Present.
Commissioner Mujica Beavers, absent. Commissioner Noguez. Here. Thank you. And oral communications, we have had no oral communications in advance. The consent calendar, still awaiting the minutes. They will not be presented tonight, so we can move on to the chair report.
Do you want to adopt the minutes? Is there anyone?
I was just saying that the minutes are not attached, so we are moving on past the consent calendar to the chair report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Chair report is me. First of all, I wanted to congratulate Vicky Fong for being reinstated to Heritage and Arts Commission for another couple of years, or 1 year, 4 years, another 4 years. That's very nice. And then I wanted to say that, talk a little bit about the party that we had for fundraising. It went very well, actually more than well, because the donors were so enthusiastic about donating to us. It was really very refreshing to see that. Everybody was really very happy to be there and donating to this wonderful public art that we are putting together. And I wanted to thank every one of our commission members, and I want to thank Public Art Selection Group, and most of all, thanking Patty Pickett, our liaison, who really works very hard, putting a beautiful table of food for us, and collecting all the donated monies, and selling the pins. I think that is. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you about the morning before. Thomas Jackson had his portfolio. We asked him, well, this room it looks very empty without any artwork. He had agreed to bring his portfolio. And putting those very delicate prints on the wall was a little tricky, but he knew exactly what to do. And I was there, Arjun was there, and Richard Rosen was there. We all helped, and he did put up the whole series from his portfolio. So that was very much fun doing it, and it was very satisfying that it really the room just suddenly brightened up with all the work. And the next day, I helped him to bring down one by one very carefully, and thank goodness nothing had happened to it, and everything worked out very, very well. And he wanted to have a chat and a meeting with David, the Post director of the Post, and I arranged that. He had the time to come and talk with him and visit with him, and that went very well. And then at the end of the day, he did text me and thanking me for everything that we had done. And he was ready to leave the next morning. So that's about my report. So now we can get going to our action items. We need an update of Thomas Jackson project, and we need to review and approve the templates of the thank you letters that Patty helped put it down. I think they look pretty good. And if the vote is yes on them, then I will come back here and sign them personally, just to make it look more appreciative to all these people who have been donating. It has a kind of a personal touch to it, so that will be appreciated. And now the staff report, please.
Yes, this is the staff report for the Heritage and Arts Commission Thomas Jackson Art Installation opening and funding use. The Thomas Jackson Art installation is underway and expected to be installed on the following suggested timeline. May 15 to 22, Thomas Jackson will be in Tiburon for the installation and opening reception. May 20, Saturday, 3 to 4 p.m. approximately, official opening of the installation at South of Knoll Park. May 20, Saturday, 6 p.m. or sometime in the evening, donor reception, location to be determined. A San Francisco Chronicle reporter will be covering the installation process and the opening for a story the week of May 20. Thomas Jackson already has volunteers, fans from his Instagram account who are flying out to help. Volunteers from HNA and PASP, Public Art Selection Panel, are expected, and there may be middle school children as well. Funds will need to be considered and approved for expenses related to the installation. Staff recommends that HNA consider approval of public art funds earmarked for the Thomas Jackson Fund use as follows. Hotel and airfare, May 15 to 22, 7 nights hotel and airfare. I put an approximate cost in there according to what we believed he paid around $500 last time. Official opening costs. Feather banners are the types of things, and this is something that Arj and I spoke about, and just for your consideration, they are the types of banners that stand on poles, not unlike his artwork in a way, that could live out at the installation, that are also made out of material that goes in the wind. You've seen them at marketing gatherings and so on, that the sponsors could be, perhaps even in the colors we were talking about of Thomas Jackson, and the sponsors could be on there, and they themselves, they're called feather banners. You would know them if you saw them. If you Google them, you'll know what they are. You've seen them. We're just not, they can stand in a room, they can go outside and go in the ground. That's a possibility, and they run kind of all over depending on the quality, but it looked like about $150. Median strip banners. So you see the banners that's used by the chamber downtown, and when you go to San Francisco, when there's a show at the De Young, you see the museum banners on the light poles. So that would be a wonderful way to get people to understand that, oh, there's an art installation somewhere in this town. Really create some buzz around it. I did get cost from the Chamber of Commerce and what they've paid for those. You wouldn't need to have them on every single pole. They are approximately, they can also run anywhere from $75 to $150. They pay $120 for theirs, depending on how many you wanted. And then that's A, B, and C is the donor reception at possibly the lodge. To be announced the cost, because I don't think we know the number of people who have qualified in the donor level for that particular reception. I think that's just a one page. So I would take that into consideration now and deliberation before we move on to letters, which are really a separate standalone item. So Arjun, would you like to elaborate on any of that?
Sure.
Yeah, would you like to elaborate?
Yes, thank you. I spoke to Thomas, and then I also spoke to Gary Sturman at the lodge. And Gary and I had a nice conversation, and he was very enthusiastic and felt that he could, work something out with a combination of complimentary stays as well as discounted price for, 7 days, which is a lot longer than when Thomas came last time. I also mentioned to Gary that Thomas had some fans from his Instagram account who want to come to the installation as well, and that, why not put them up at the lodge? So he said that he would get me a, like a small discount code, and that Thomas could then put that out on his Instagram, so that would bring even more people. So that seems like a nice, good thing for Thomas. I think his airfare was really like closer to around $350 or something last time, but summertime will be higher. Yeah, May. That's right. For the donor reception, I mean, I think the donor reception is not really a dinner as much as it is kind of like a small bites and wine and cocktails or whatever. I mean, I thought about the lodge since they're giving them the business, since they're doing such a nice job for everybody, but it could as easily be elsewhere. Jolly and I were thinking about some other locations like maybe China Cabin, which is kind of a cool spot. So that's something to think about. Thomas felt that if he arrived on the 15th, he would need several days to begin to prepare and set up everything. And for middle school children, we thought about some of the people who had come to the event, and rather than, kind of do an open call and get swamped with kids, which might be a little overwhelming for the installation purposes. I could certainly round up some middle school kids from the neighborhood, from Del Mar and Hawthorne, who might be able to help out if we need to. But I don't think really it's not a big deal. It's mostly going to be adults. Yeah. And then he will spend Sunday photographing the installation, and maybe also Friday. But the actual installation will be open on Saturday. I mean, there's no way to stop people from seeing it, of course, because it's huge. But he felt that the afternoon, the wind would be better, and it's towards the end of the day, and then we can go from there to the reception, which I think everyone at HNA and PASP should be invited to, of course, and Patty as well, of course. And so that's it. Any questions? Go ahead.
I will try to talk or ask about China Cabin. I think that would be really wonderful. It is a historic place, and it will make a lot of meaning, but we'll be needing some food service, It might be more expensive, but it is good to find out from Landmark. Otherwise, I had, since my house is big, I have the space, and at that time of the year, I think the weather is very nice, and there is the outdoor as well. But that has nothing to do with anything speaking about business or anything. It will be just a cocktail party for 2 hours, just drinks and some finger foods. So that is another thing. Or if you want to do it in the lodge, I think that is not going to be very cheap either, because I'm pretty sure that they would want to charge for the food. And so it is something good to evaluate.
For that evaluation, I want to say, and it might be apropos for what you might ask, so I'll just throw it out there.
Could you speak to the microphone,
Yeah,
please?
the expenses that are listed here, I cleared this. So hotel and airfare is going to come under the funds raised for the Thomas Jackson. They're not out of our general operating fund, but I think you would expect that because that was part of what was understood in the beginning of the cost of this proposal. Things like the banners would be, could come out of the general operating fund. That's publicity, etc. The reception will also come out of the Thomas Jackson funds because it is a special reception for donors. So it cannot come out of the general operating fund, just so you know that when you're thinking about the cost of that reception. I would say that it's worth talking to Landmarks about a reduced price for the China cabin. It is a busy time of year, so they could have it. It's not like the church, though. It's not really used a lot for weddings, thank goodness. But they might be willing to give us a reduction, and they do require a certain list of caterers that they use, but it's worth asking.
Yes, I have
but
a
I just want you to know
good
where the money's coming
rapport
from.
with them.
Yeah. So you know where the
you
money is coming
too.
from, especially when we get to the budget. So I'll now just want to let you have that background.
Victoria.
Hi, thanks. That was good questions. I did have some questions regarding the banners. Did you say 120 for how many lampposts? For one.
For one lamppost.
So 2 banners
Yeah,
is 120.
Correct. That's my
approximately.
understanding. I found that kind of high too, so I
Yeah.
wanted to go back to
Those
her.
are
But I think,
expensive, those-
well, and you can get cheaper. I saw that there were lower cost ones. So I don't, she's buying ones that are, this is something to think about. Deanna's buying ones that can be used year after year. She's used those for 3 years now. We're talking about something that we really care about for maybe 6 months max. So I don't think we would,
I'm
maybe
just-
I saw them, they were even $50.
I'm,
So,
I'm
yeah.
just thinking in terms
So
of.
that's why I said they're kind of all over the place, but
And
we
then the
can use our existing money for it before
Yeah,
it's
I
gone.
like the feather banners, especially
Yeah.
in the colors.
Right.
And I would presume that's more as you enter, so that people enter the town, you would be able to
And
see
at the
it.
site,
Yeah.
because sponsors are what we
Yeah,
want to
more
try to.
toward Blackie's, that
Yeah.
area. Okay, that's great. And as far as China Cabin, again, is a little lower ceiling. I don't know how many people you're expecting. It could get crowded, and it does require catering. And that's the only thing. And your house is lovely, but I don't know. We'll have to compare the costs and see what is the best way. But I agree, it'll showcase the town. Yeah, but it definitely, both places would showcase the town, so that would be nice. Thanks for the info.
Some sort of a banner in town on Main. A lot of people see it, and they can put it in their calendars.
Well, there are 2 things, actually.
That's
The
2.
one thing we didn't mention is the regular banner. So there are banners on the light poles. That's like in San Francisco, how museums do it. And then there are banners at the banner spots. Now, I don't know that this will be ready yet, but it would be remarkable really great if it was. We're now getting a 3rd banner frame that's going to go in the median strip coming right into town. Nobody's booked it yet, so we could have the first dibbies, but that'd be different than the banners on a light pole, which are more, elegant in a way and not, but they don't give as much information, so you could have both. But it's a way to drive people say, where is this? Because it's not right in town. So different ways.
I think Nora had a question. Please.
I should be on now. My question was, in terms of the cost of this donor reception, I'm guessing that it isn't part of the money that's already been raised for the project, so this is going to be a cost on top of the money that's already been raised, specifically earmarked for the Thomas Jackson installation. Is that correct?
Part of it, it is not part?
That's my question, was the...
No, I think it is.
Yeah, the reception
It's
money is part of the money.
It was
that's
always in
raised.
in the initial proposal.
Okay, so the donor reception?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
mean-
know, is if there was money that had to be raised on top of it?
No.
Okay.
Also, a question for Arjun. So if we're talking about the number of people, for just when you're thinking about it, we have 7 members of our commission. We have 4 members of PASP. Arguably, there could be a few people that were involved in PASP who are no longer there, but were perhaps part of this. I don't know, that you might want to invite a few people. And then there are the above a certain amount donors that this is for, which, what do we have, 4 maybe?
I think we have like
So
4
far,
or
3 or
5.
4.
Yeah.
So it isn't, maybe it's 20 people total? I don't think it's going, because this is not an open to the public, just reminder.
Right.
So you could have a smaller space. Maybe it makes sense to have a smaller intimate space than a big space that you're not filling.
I mean, I'm assuming that Thomas will be here, and maybe he might be here with his wife and his daughter. I don't know.
Of course, right.
But,
Yes, and I don't mean to forget, and some special people who have promoted him that he would want there.
That's
So,
true.
Maybe you're talking 30 people.
We might want his friend who's at the SF Chronicle, and a photographer, another fellow filmmaker and photographer friend of his who's covering his
Yeah, it does start to get up there. I see what you mean. Tiburon Peninsula Foundation, you really want to invite all the board members.
Right.
And any of those donors
Sound-
might have a spouse.
Yeah.
And the town officials.
Well, again, it's a
Yeah.
light appetizers and
Right.
wine and beer, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't think it's no one's ordering like, Manhattans or something like that.
Yeah, China Cabin does have a cutoff of, a pretty tight cutoff. I can't remember, like 40
Oh, in terms
people,
of
maybe?
amount of people?
Yeah, I think it's 40. Yeah, that sticks in my mind. So, yeah, that is a consideration.
Okay, well, we should look into that then. Let's make a note of that for the reception.
Just, may I?
Go ahead. Oh.
One question. Is there any wine left from the party we had?
Yes, but you can't use that because those are for receptions that are paid for under the general operating fund,
But the wine was donated.
Yeah, right, but,
Couldn't we use them for this?
well, that's true. It was donated for Thomas
for
Jackson.
Thomas Jackson, yes.
You do have some left, yes.
Is it one box or a few?
I think there
You see,
was a
that could
full
be
box
good
left.
for the
kinda thinking.
party.
Yeah, that's right, since that was donated and not paid for out of the fund.
6 to 8.
I mean,
It's
in a
just
way,
glass of
if we
wine
don't if we
and-
don't use it, then will we ever be able to use it because it's for Thomas Jackson?
Oh boy!
I don't know.
Yeah, let's use it.
Thomas Jackson every year. I just have one question. With the middle school children, I thought maybe, maybe we could ask the art classes to
Oh,
help out,
yeah,
maybe?
sure.
That would be limiting
Limiting
some
the
of
number,
numbers.
yeah.
But anyway.
That's a good. I'll make a note of that.
I don't know if you have seen the artwork in the library. It's really exceptional. Some of the kids, they're all 13-year-old, 12-year-olds. The artwork is really magnificent for their age.
So I have a question about the median
Responsible.
strip banners and the other banner. You were talking about the big ones. I mean, I think, when we're thinking about the banner, we might have like a very simple kind of map, maybe, that in an inset or something like that, that shows where this thing is, maybe, and I don't know.
The
what
problem
I'm
with that,
saying?
the problem is,
You see it kind of like a replica of where you are.
Yeah, that's right. You are here, and here's how to get to it. That's right.
well, remember though that the banner is something people are driving by. They're not walking up to. We're talking about the banner at Black, well, the Blackies, they can walk up to it, but it's really meant for drivers. It's pointed right to drivers. So people ask me when they're doing banners, how should we do banners? Big, big letters, big things that people can see out of a car. It's not a thing that's at the start of the walk on the Old Rail Trail, for instance, if people can go up and see where is this. So I think that if someone could take a very artful photograph of his work superimposed on the south of Knoll, because it's very iconic that people know where that is. If that could be laid into with that behind it and the water, people will know, oh, this artwork's somewhere over there by McCagney Green, because I know where that is, just for that big banner. But you're right, some
Okay.
sort of informative thing here in town, especially in the town hall, things that can really point people to it will be important. Articles, newspapers.
Well, maybe we can ask Victoria Miller to help design that banner.
Well, I think it is important the day of the installation would be good to put some arrows
That's right.
directing people to where it's going to be installed.
And there's
That's all, just for the day.
yeah,
Yeah.
or maybe for a few days, but then that also reminds me we need a text label of some sort, you know, maybe even if it's just laminated or whatever, that's there on the site that has the artist's name and the title of the piece and,
Please
you
do
know,
not touch.
any other information exactly that we want to give the public when they're there.
So we need to kind of save some money from the TJ fund for that.
Yeah. I think we're going to be okay on that.
Yeah, we're going to be okay. And I like your idea of using the colors. I think
Mm-hmm.
if we could have, color directional. Every time I see the orange and pink
That's
and blue,
right.
I'll go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea, yeah. Color directional, I like that. Okay.
Do we need to touch base with Post for all of this?
Thomas Jackson is in touch with them. Well, he has. I
For the
don't think
placement,
so.
for the placement of this stuff on the park. Like there's only going to be a couple of things on in the park itself. The sponsor banner, you know, maybe near the playground or wherever.
They should know. They should know the date of the installation.
Yeah,
The post should
okay.
be informed.
Well, now that we've got this timeline that we just got, we will have that, yeah.
Sure.
I'm wondering if okay, so considering and approving expenses related to these installations, so it takes a motion to, you have a fund, I think what we're going to be, what you should be, I'm just trying to think of the motion because we don't have exact costs. But you know that all of these are coming out of the fund, with the exception of the publicity items, banners, feather banners, median strip banners. But the donor reception, the hotel, the airfare are coming out of the Thomas Jackson Fund. So if someone would like to fashion a motion around those two things, you can even wait and it can be part of the budget talk. In a way, they're kind of intertwined.
When we
But do you
get
want to weigh in on that, Nora?
We have to wait for that until when we get to.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because it's
Yeah,
on
we
here
should
as
wait.
$5,330 for Thomas Jackson reception.
Yeah.
Isn't that it? On the budget?
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't have an amount.
Well,
I think that meant the 5,300 that we received from the reception, March 1st,
oh,
right?
okay.
Not for the,
Oh, okay.
activity.
Oh, okay.
And I'll add that there's one other donor that I have been in touch with, and I wrote to her again this morning because she's been away, and she has pledged, I think, like $3,000 or $4,000.
Okay.
So,
But please, we really, this is the time to know whether it is, she's going to pay for it.
I wrote to her this morning. I said, "Are you back in town?
Until
Are you back in
next-
town?"
Wait until tomorrow.
So I think basically, just to wrap this one up, I think that the motion would be to approve funds for, as discussed, funds for the hotel and airfare at approximately X,
And the
and
reception.
funds for the donor reception to be announced, but they will be paid out of the Thomas Jackson Fund, and also to approve any publicity costs, feather banners, median strip banners, and a banner as proposed, approximate costs out of the general operating fund. So that is the motion. If we would like to make a motion on that?
Would you like to make a motion?
I would, except I'm not real comfortable with the publicity info. I'm not sure I like the median strip, and it's pending on costs before I decide. But I'm happy to move that we expense the hotel and airfare as well as the donor reception, place to be determined, out of the Thomas Jackson Fund. Do I need to have a specific amount?
As
Proposed.
shown,
Recommended.
yeah, right.
As recommended.
Could we just say not to exceed?
Well, we don't have we don't have an amount on the
No,
reception
no,
yet.
but we know that essentially the universe of expenses or expenditures is the Thomas Jackson Fund, correct? So not to exceed.
Not to exceed the existing fund.
Existing
Yeah,
fund, yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Right,
Okay, I second that motion.
okay.
And as far as the publicity, I'll let someone else. I'm undecided on some of the items.
We could get exact costing and come back at the next meeting with that, too.
I don't need exact.
Well, I mean, more appropriate.
Yeah, I don't need exact. I really would like to see more of the
I mean,
artwork and the design, you know.
Want to come back at the next meeting with
Because
that one?
Sure.
I just would like a little more. I don't want to pay for, banners.
Are we agreed then that I mean, does anybody, I'm happy to go to Victoria Miller, but if anybody wants to do that? Do you want to do that?
Okay, we'll move that to the next meeting.
No, well, Victoria Fong, would you like to speak with Victoria Miller about the design and the?
Oh, no,
No?
I think you're really good at that.
I don't know about that, but that's,
I could proofread it.
oh, okay, you're proofreading it then. Or Nora, would you like to talk?
Honestly, I don't see this as a matter of wordsmithing.
It is
It's
not
more
a
of
matter.
aesthetics.
Design, yeah.
Yeah.
We just need to settle on the
design.
information that we want in that design, and then,
Yeah, just some idea.
so we want dates, we want the name of the project, we want H&A's logo,
Right.
we want a location.
And when you're asking her for that, you just want to think about, she needs like 3 different designs. One that's going to fit and just be a graphic design with no information on it, hardly except dates, for something that's on a lamppost, museum-type banner. Then you have your larger, eye-catching one as a car is driving by. And then you have the feather banner, which as Arjun and I spoke about it, is really a sponsor banner.
Right.
So using the same maybe graphic idea in each, but more bold graphic in one, more writing in the other.
For the sponsor banner, maybe having the logos instead of the names written out, maybe that would be something. We can get permission from them,
Great
of course,
idea.
but,
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
yeah.
If you'd like to
I'm sorry?
come up with something and
Logos, yeah.
logos, yeah.
Right.
Great.
And then using
I
that,
can't take it, I can't talk to,
All the corporate entities and Tiburon
Yeah.
Peninsula Foundation.
if you come up with what you want, I can send it to Miller and see if she wants to design something.
Okay, great.
She has a very good eye, I think. It would be good to
I think she
make,
could envision that laying into
yeah,
the South Knoll,
yeah,
that work.
so she can really, yeah.
Photographer also, so she
That's
can
right.
photograph
So
She
that
can do a
space.
Photoshop thing with his work, yeah.
Yeah. So if,
great.
Arjun, you send it to me what we really want,
Okay,
and then I can get in touch with her and have her just design a couple of them so that we can choose one. Yeah, she will definitely do that so that it would be eye-catching. That's what we want, an eye-catching.
and then you will notify Post.
Notifying posts, sure. About the dates?
Yeah, about the dates and also about like the placement. We plan on putting something near in south of Knowles somewhere with the sponsor banner or the feather banner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can
We're
talk
not
to
putting
David.
anything along that pathway, the highway coming into town. Because in the past, one of the art shows had those banners, was really eye-catching. So we're not going to put anything beyond the regular banners that are.
I don't
Right.
think so.
Okay.
Blackies
Okay, just want a clarification.
Yeah.
Well, and it might be the one that's right here in
and the
downtown.
one right here. I think that's a good idea, the one in town, because
This would be even
know.
more useful.
But if you're coming into town,
Coming
then
into
you have to go
town.
back out to get to
I
the South
can
Tunnel.
never
but people from the ferry,
see anything. From the ferry is being used quite often because of the restaurants there. And the new restaurant will be open as well, so
There's
it
no
would
banner
be
spot down there.
no banners,
Town.
but somehow
but in town, people coming from there would be in town.
Oh, right, and see this other one, right.
Yeah,
So you get both ends, kind of.
Yeah.
And then we're right in the middle, the installation.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
so are we ready to move on to the letters?
Are you going, we can't ask the public, huh? We don't have any public.
We don't have any public present,
Sitting.
and I just,
Nora?
Oh, Nora, please?
I was at the Post meeting, and they said to check for
emails.
Emails.
I did,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry, and there are none, I just looked.
If you go to that, would you like to inform the Post yourself?
Well, we
Or do
don't
you
need,
still want
I
me to
didn't,
do?
I was making the presentation about our landscaping to Post. That's why I was there, so I don't go to every meeting.
Okay.
I think coming from the chair is fine, or the vice chair, just an email
Yes, of
info.
course, yes.
yeah,
I'll
I
do
don't
that.
think we need to go before post for where we're just going to put a few little
Okay.
additional we can go to David Issue on that.
Okay. Now we have to make motions on those thank you letters.
Okay, so there are two thank you letters, one specifically to the Tiburon Peninsula Foundation. Because they are a foundation and it was a grant, it has a certain format to the letter which I researched. Did we want to read these out loud, or has
Yes.
everyone read? Okay.
Oh, I have read it. I don't know.
If everyone has read them, they're available to the public too. I'm happy to read them, but it's not a staff report, so I wouldn't necessarily.
Nora has a
I
question.
I have edits.
Yes, yeah, so should we just move straight to that? That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So in both, in first paragraph, thank you for your generous contribution to the Heritage and Arts Commission in the amount of X. We extend our gratitude for your support of our public art program. It's not support for our public art funding, it's for the program in general. So I would substitute the word funding with the word program in both the first paragraph of the, yes, of both letters. Then next, where it says, second paragraph beginning with this money and this grant, I would take out be used to and simply say, this money will assist us in bringing the Thomas Jackson art installation to Tiburon during the spring-summer of 2023. Then the next sentence that starts with this, take out this and simply say funding is important to the support of our, I would take out new because it's really not new. So it should say funding is important to support of our public art program, period, take out community. Go to the next sentence. It helps showcase our natural setting for great public art. Take out we believe it will and just put it helps showcase our natural setting for great public art and supports our community, both artistically and economically, bringing more visitors to the peninsula. Okay. And then the rest is fine. I'm assuming that you could, in the interest of caution, just say it is tax deductible as allowed by law, as opposed to fully. There's no reason for fully. Just take it out and say it is tax deductible as allowed by law.
That sounds good, thank you.
So do we want to have, are there any other comments or have a motion to accept these with changes?
I move that we accept this letter as amended and corrected.
Oh,
Sure. What's
As the installation opening draws near and showcasing, you could just say showcasing the community support or showcasing support. I just feel they just way too long.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it does sound
Sure.
too long of a sentence.
I don't really think you need the showcasing the community at all. I think if you just, because really what you're trying to say is we want to thank you, Tiburon Peninsula.
Yeah,
So just say that we look forward to thanking the Tiburon Peninsula Foundation publicly as the installation opening draws near.
Yeah.
okay,
I don't
And
think,
that's
I agree.
good.
It's a stronger statement. Just
Yeah.
say thank you.
excellent.
Now, Patty is the one who's going to correct this. Did you get all of
I
it?
got it all.
Oh, good, thank you.
So, motion by Fong,
I guess I was maker of the motion. I will include that amendment or the corrections.
I second.
okay. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, we
yes,
had to
excuse me. So,
There's no public
There-
comment. There's no
Yes, I
public
will.
here. Oh,
No.
the emails, yeah.
seeing none. Okay. And roll call vote. Chair Ataman,
Yes,
Commissioner Gupta,
Yes.
Commissioner Fong, Commissioner Noguez, Commissioner Hall, Fran.
We're approving.
We're voting on the letters, Fran.
you agree, you agree?
Thanks the Tiburon Peninsula Foundation. We're agreeing to.
I'll have to vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Aye.
For their support because they gave us 5,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving
Now
on
to
to action item
exhibition
2.
Thank you, a letter to, in general, for general.
Oh, I think we were doing them both at the same time
Both
because
at the same
they're
time,
identical,
so it
just
will
with
be okay
two
then.
different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that sounds doable.
Okay.
Very nice.
So on to action item number 2. Would you like me to read that, Chair, or would you like?
Would you like to
Sure.
read it for
Uh-huh.
us, please? Thank
So
you.
action item number 2, review the 2022-23 remaining general operation budget and consider approval of expenditures of remaining funds. Discuss general operating expenses for the new 2023-24 budget and consider approval of request for increase over regular budget amount of $3,500. So I might comment that all you have is the 22-23, because there really isn't anything to put on the 23-24 that would be different from the way we had outlined it, except for comments on what you believe should be on there in addition. So I'm just saying that's why we only have one. We have the existing, real existing one, and to run through that, we have what the banners are so far for the year, with the exception of the banner for the Thomas Jackson and the banner for the mural, which the cost has gone down a little bit from our banner makers to $57.75, usually not over $60. Receptions, we had the Thomas Jackson reception, so we know the expenses on that. The yearly supplies, awards, plaques, none of that took place. We had the outreach programs for Thomas Jackson, and we know expenses that we've had on that so far. So what we've minus what we've used, there is a remaining $1,902 in the general operating fund, which will disappear. There is no rolling over.
Oh,
In June, that was a one-time exception during COVID that we were allowed to roll money over. And it will renew at $3,500 for the new year. The last time that, and I'll go through the other funds in a moment, we're just talking about the general operating fund. I'm sorry, because I kind of launched into this, but I myself am missing my staff report. Oops, excuse me. I almost want to borrow a laptop because, thank you. I'm kind of winging it, and I've explained it all, but I wanted to just dig a little deeper. So I will first, thank you very much. For some reason, that piece of paper I remembered just came in. I was out of my stack. The special fund, I will finish out reading it all, as shown in the staff report. The special fund currently sits at $5,488, and probably a few more dollars. I didn't get an updated one, but there's a tiny bit of interest that accrues as time goes by, a few dollars. The public art fund, the original public art fund, not earmarked for a specific project, still sits at $7,040 as outlined on the budget, and you have seen that before, how that accumulated. The public art fund earmarked for the Thomas Jackson project is at $17,330, and that is outlined where those funds have come from. And you see in the gold spot there, opening of the Portuguese Dairy Mural project and the opening of Thomas Jackson, with no amounts, but shown that they would come out of those two funds. The Portuguese Dairy Mural would be considered a general public art project, while the Thomas Jackson had its own reception money built into its own public art fund. So kind of three different considerations you're making here are, do we want to ask for more money for next year? That question came around when we were voting on the 22-23, and it was decided that we would wait and see what we needed money for before we could really ask again, unless someone has some ideas up front that they think are going to be big expenditures that should come out of a general operating fund and not under a fundraising fund. And then also to discuss an opening costs associated with the Dairy Mural project. And you already discussed really the opening costs for Thomas Jackson, so. I'll leave it at that and open the discussion.
Victoria.
Yes, thank you, Patty. This is very nice. Just a small item. I would like to see the Azores, the Dairy Mural Project, or the Portuguese Dairy Mural be consistent, one name, because I think it's one project. The way it is, seems like it's two projects, or, a lot of dairy tile projects. But anyway, that's just a minor. I'm sure it just could be done. With the general fund, I would suspect that we're going to be spending some of that $1,900 remaining on the banners and what was the other things, by the lampposts and all of that for the Thomas Jackson, although it's related to Thomas Jackson, but it's general PR fund.
And articles in newspaper,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
ad,
maybe
if you want to make
ads
I
in
would
the-
think you'd want to make
Yeah,
a
so
splash
we
on
would
that.
probably use that up. And then the others, I guess is open for discussion. And just on a general comment, I would say I would like to ask for more money from the town into operating, because I think we're picking up on a lot of activities, and we seem to have a lot of public interest and support, plus the gallery opening, et cetera. Those are my general comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. I have a question also. There was some discussion earlier about showing some of Thomas's work, and we had come to an arrangement with his representation on the East Coast to share in the commission as a way of bringing in some revenue here as well from that project, kind of an ongoing thing. And I think we need to remember that there are costs associated to showing the work, shipping the work, and I just want to,
Possibly.
keep that in mind. And does that come out? That comes out of his fund, right? That's my question.
That's a good,
Or does it come out of a general operating fund because
that's a
of?
good question that I don't know, because if it's a gallery showing, does it then come back into the
Into that
arena
art
of the
fund.
general
Yeah.
operating fund? Because assumedly you'd have a reception to try to sell it, just like we had one, and that was out of the general operating fund. The shipping of them,
That's part
that
of,
part is tricky, probably because we've never paid for the movement of art for a showing here. So if you, it's kind of like, can you have it both ways? If you're asking to make it be treated like it's a show that we pay expenses out of the general operating fund, that, but how would we find the funds to ship artwork, and then another artist would come forward?
that
So
might-
I'm not sure.
That might be
That's-
something we leave to his representation on the East Coast to handle.
Yeah, perhaps, and
maybe.
I don't
other-
know the answer to that.
The other thing is that don't we have to buy some of his work to give to the big donors?
No, we don't.
Oh, he's going to do.
He's
okay,
going to,
good.
that was
Thank
part
you.
of the donor
No extra
package.
expense.
Yeah. Nora?
Well, two issues. One is that we're going to have competing projects here because there's a Thomas Jackson, but there's also the Dairy Mural project. We're in the second phase of that one, which I will discuss there. But there is also an event, which is the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Dairy Mural, which will be on June 8th. So that's going to need additional advertising as well as the Thomas Jackson. And considerably more money has been put towards the Thomas Jackson, has been put towards the Dairy Mural project, because most of that was essentially self-funded. I mean, we raised, or the project raised its own money to fund that endeavor. So that's one thing. I agree that it should be at that line item, special fund, right above it, it should be Portuguese Dairy Mural Project, which is the name that it goes by. it happens that
I know we
they're
started with
Azorean immigrants, but it is the Portuguese dairy mural project.
consistency.
Yeah, which I thank you for that. But also my last comment is this, that I don't think we should get into the business of being sort of gallery assistants to any artist, because not only is there the issue of who's paying for shipping the artwork to here for the benefit of the artist, really, because that's what they're doing, is they're selling their art through us. But also there's a matter of liability for, ensuring that art, if anything were to happen to that art in transit or once it gets here. So I, for one, don't think we should get into the business of, being a gallery for outside artists. It's one thing for us to allow local artists to exhibit their artwork here, or even out-of-town
So-
artists if they bring it themselves, but to start getting involved in shipping it here.
I agree, no shipping, but
Yeah.
are you then saying that we shouldn't let Thomas sell his work here?
No, it depends on
As an outside
how.
artist?
I think it depends on how, because we will have coming up a calendar of artists that have been waiting for years to exhibit their art here, but they've been put off because of COVID. So I just don't want people to think that the local artists can just be pushed to one side.
Well, maybe there's a way where we use a combination of digital, with the new website, and maybe a smaller amount of space for Thomas Jackson. It might even be downstairs or something like that, where you have a couple of examples of his work, because people might want to be like, I love that installation.
Yes.
Where do I find the work?
Right.
And we can kind of just drive them.
Right.
And maybe there's an arrangement we can have with Mr. Jackson where anything that's through the website or through the town hall, we get a small commission on it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate, it's good to
We
be
have a-
creative, but I am concerned about the artists that have been put off for years.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, that way
we
they
have-
can continue to show
Right.
upstairs or wherever.
We
or-
have something to talk about this at the very end.
Right,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So I won't comment on this at all.
Well, I want to go back to Nora's point, though, about
Yes.
the dairy mural
She's
project.
right. I think
We
Nora
have
is
to figure out,
completely correct.
yeah, I mean,
We
does
should
that
not pay for-
also come out of the general operating fund then?
Right,
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
let-
maybe we should just reserve a certain amount, or
Right.
go half and half, or something like that.
I feel like, I'd like to just say that if you were to look at the cost of a banner, just for one or the other, let's just say you do the same thing for both.
Sure.
So if you look at a cost of the banner of $60, and you look at the cost of the feather banner at $150, and you're probably going to get one of those, so there's $200, and then you're getting, let's just say you get 3 banners that go down the pole banners, and let's say it's $300 there, so it's $600. So each is $600. I mean, if we have $1,900, you could go up to $800 and get an ad in the paper too. I mean, it would be split down the middle because, again, the reception is a separate thing. And even the ribbon cutting, which we consider the opening costs,
Right.
could come out of the Public Art Fund for the Dairy Mural and come out of the Thomas Jackson Fund.
Then maybe,
for
for our purposes, do we need to have a motion that says we'll just split it evenly, whatever the costs are for
You don't
both
need to have a
projects?
motion,
No.
only because this is the general operating fund.
Okay.
We don't have costs yet, but
Right.
you're agreeing to share. I don't
Nora,
know
is
that
that
a
okay?
motion needs to be
Yeah,
made
no, I
for a
think that
share.
sounds fair. I mean, if we
Yeah,
were
it
to,
is fair.
Yeah, just to
Well,
be
I'd
aware
like to
of.
know how much we're sharing. What are we talking about?
Well, it's all coming out of the general operating
I
fund.
know, but
Remaining
what are we
19
spending on and how much?
Right, when we decide on when we cost out the banners and
Okay, for
That was going to
both
be the next
for
time
things.
for
to
both
vote on.
things,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Be-
I'm assuming that, the banners will be similar in size and, I mean, I
Yeah.
think they should be, so.
right,
And I'd just like to go back to the other issue about the gallery showing. I feel this with Thomas Jackson is a special project, and I would love to see the town inundated, have a total Thomas Jackson feel, And I have no problem with just having some artwork there so that
Yeah, it
people
is
can
coming next.
purchase, and that would be
The next
considered
step.
part of, yeah.
I think,
So-
I mean, I think that's,
One
that's
that can
part of
bring
the,
it
right.
up.
I think that's
All right.
part of the life
Yeah.
of
That's
the public art installation, is that you have to
But-
have some extension of it
I was
after.
just
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
that. And I'm for spending as far as
I have
publicity,
some-
public
I-
art.
Yeah, that is part
I have
of,
some
that's a discussion
suggestions
item, so let's
coming
wait
up
and hold that.
At the end of,
Okay.
it is at the end, there's some suggestions for that.
Okay.
I want to, okay, is there
So
any?
if, the only staff recommendation of a motion was to request more money for
Right.
the only thing is that if we're going to request more money, there has to be a reason. There has to be a written, well-thought-out why we will go beyond $3,500. So I don't know whether if you want to come back at the next meeting, which is actually in April, which would be about the last time you could vote on this, of exactly coming back with, this is our ask and here's why we want more money, because we have line itemed it out and there isn't enough money, and here's why. Because they will always consider giving more money, this has been said every single year, if they understand why you want it. And then they also will say, come back when you've run out of money and we'll probably give you, we may give you money. So,
Victoria?
Yeah, I would definitely ask for more money because everything's going up in prices. And definitely the digital gallery show or any kind of technical help that we may need to make our website
Great.
much more accessible. And I have no idea how much techies charge per hour, at least 110 an hour, I don't know. So I would like to put that into the budget for voting next
okay, so we
month.
need an ad hoc to go out and put together, what does this budget look like?
Or make a
and why do we need
suggestion
more
or
money?
something, yeah.
Someone needs to work on this.
So do you want to have a motion on this? You don't
Well,
want
there's
to
no
do it
motion until
in
someone goes out and
asking for
works
more
on
money anyways?
what we're asking for
I
and
guess
what backs
basically
it up.
just asking to have the budget be voted on and maybe add some of these expenses that I could foresee, and maybe others see others, items.
But do we know what those costs are, these software programs and so on?
Nora?
No, I agree very much with Victoria. I think that's a wonderful way to ask for additional money because we need to get into, we need to get current. And being current means being
Yes.
able to do full-on exhibitions online. And we don't have the technical
Yeah, and
help that we
art-
need to do that.
That
Art
is,
is so
that is your
visual.
reason.
Right.
We have the reason.
But we
Maybe
need
should
amounts
ask
of
for
money.
it.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
We
Need to
need
cost
more
it out.
research. It
Exactly.
has to be costed out.
Exactly,
Yeah,
Yes.
the ask needs to have something behind it.
right.
So who will come back with that at the next meeting? Because we will run out of
For
time
next-
for this
Does it
ask.
have to be next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because starting to work on the budget
Okay.
right now, and all the
Well,
requests
about
need to
how
be in.
much does the town pay for the IT guys?
We have an IT program that covers our entire office for different things. What you're talking about
Just
is
from
very
my knowledge, I don't know how many hours we're going to need, but
I don't
from
either.
the library in one of the classes, I think the man charges $150 an hour to come to your house, but maybe it's a little
It's a
less if it's by
completely-
project.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing here, and the people who cover our IT would not work on this type of thing at all. So you really need to go for these software programs, so we've talked about talking to the library, what are the costs of their software programs, what kind of digital programs do they have there? I mean, they've really gone deep for all this. So all you need to do is approach them and find out costing. I think we did, someone was going to do all of this before,
What
but it
about
didn't.
some, who is working on the website for a while? How about daughter do?
My daughter did,
Yeah.
but that was a conflict. Yeah. So she can't.
I mean, I don't think we need to get too into the weeds of who and how. It's just that it needs to be done.
Well, maybe we just need to go and talk
Backup.
to the library and see
Yeah.
who they're using.
Backup needs to be done when you're going to ask for money.
Well, but I thought that we did talk to library, and the program that they use is very different because of the amount of vetting that they're doing with their artwork.
Right,
Okay.
that was for submissions and things, but I think maybe I'm confused. I was thinking about more the UI, the user interface of the website for exhibitions that are online. Images and then, you know, a
We are
carousel or whatever.
stepping out of our agenda. So,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
well, all we're wanting to do is that somebody needs to reach out, decide maybe you need an ad hoc. What is it we want? What do we want to concentrate on? And
Well, we
go
did
and
that
find out
one
the
time.
information.
And I
We
think
did that already, didn't we?
For the
It didn't
consulting.
get done.
we didn't cost
No
anything
one's
else.
come
Didn't
forward
get-
with,
Yeah, we didn't go
ask.
forward to it, but we should.
I'm willing to
Go
suggest
forward.
$2,000.
I think-
mean,
I think-
1,000.
I think at 150, yeah, I mean, if you have $150 an hour, then, you know,
At least, yes.
that's a good amount.
Is almost 1,000 for
2,000.
8 hours,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, 2,000 would be good.
And that's a condition that whoever we hire can work on.
Yeah,
With
and
that-
if
with
it
those
doesn't cost
parameters.
us that much, it'll be in the general fund.
so is
But
there?
anyway, that's
Okay,
a
do you want to make a
suggestion.
motion now then, without going out and
No,
researching?
that's a good, I mean, I think
Sure,
that.
I'm
okay.
happy.
Okay.
I would like to add to the general fund and ask the town to give us an additional $2,000 for software program and
Consulting.
consulting, technical
Digitalization of our
For the,
artworks.
work and website.
Digital, yeah.
So
outreach.
an increase to 5,500. Okay, all right.
So would you like to second?
I'll second.
Okay, and now what I'm going to have to do is, because my phone isn't working and I ran in there and I'm not getting any public, I'm going to have to run into my other computer because it's not picking up my email, and see if we have any public comment.
Okay.
Any,
So microphones off, please. Three computers and none of them have email. Okay. I see no public comment, so we will take the roll call. Chair Etamad? Commissioner Gupta?
Yes?
Commissioner Hall? Yes. Commissioner Fong?
Yes.
Commissioner Noguez? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay.
sorry. Now we go to number 3. We want to review and approve biography for the Ellie Block to be placed in the Tiburon Town Hall commemorative book. Have you all read it? Because Arjun worked with him to make it fit in one page.
I gave him
Some suggestions, and he has done it. So we can talk about that. We have, up till now, we have allowed him to do his tree. And Ellie Block has lived in Tiburon for over 40 years. But he has done a lot in Marin County, and I consider Tiburon being part of Marin County. But we have to be very careful because if we are allowing this, it has to be somebody who really has worked in Tiburon, the town of Tiburon. So now we're asking your views here. What do you think?
I guess I'd like to hear the chair's view at some point. I'd like to thank Commissioner Gupta on all the work. And it's really amazing. And I guess this would fit into one page. I can't remember the remembrance book upstairs.
It's small writing for one page. It wouldn't
It would, you know,
flow over.
it might flow over, but there's a margin.
It's 2 pages, really.
And so you get the front and the link.
Yeah, one is photo and one is writing. So
I've read it, and I think the husband, John, is it, has done a lot of work, and I think I can go with it, but I also think the commission should maybe assign an ad hoc to evaluate and give some guidelines for future things, commemorations that may be coming. We may limit the number of words. Or something. We should have some guidelines so that we don't string along people who might want to do it. We could either say yes or no because of these guidelines. That would be good. And I'm happy to serve on that ad hoc committee. I would also like to look for the possibility of digitalizing the commemorative books so that people can go on the town site and see something. So yes on going forward, and second for an ad hoc committee. My comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Nora?
Who wrote this?
Mr. Block.
Okay, because it is way too wordy. It is redundant. I mean, one sentence.
Yes.
After getting trainings from federal and state mediators, she and a friend, Jody Becker, founded Marin Mediation Services with a grant from the San Francisco Foundation, which over 25 years operated under the auspices of the Marin County District Attorney's Office, managing a team of volunteer lawyers and others who mediated landlord, tenant, neighborhood, and tree disputes and other conflicts, even divorces. That is a very run-on long sentence. And so I guess what I'm asking is, how do we want to handle this? Because if this is the first of many to come,
Right.
do we want to have a standard in terms of what can get published? Or is it whatever you want to say gets published? And I don't.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand wanting to put as much in here as possible, but it's grammatically, it's problematic. And so I'm just trying to figure out how we want to do it.
Maybe, I mean, I agree with everything that both of you have said. I think maybe the best way to go forward is to, first of all, let anybody who wants to know if they can do this, you know, that there are guidelines and that it's subject to editorial review and
Critique.
critique, yeah, and a final draft, you know, an editorial final draft. I mean, you know, so I think I can certainly go back to Mr. Block. If Nora, if you're, I mean, you know, you're a wonderful writer and editor. Maybe I can ask him. I can tell him that this is what we discussed at the meeting, and that this needs some editorial work. But I think guidelines in terms of, you know, what goes into it
Right.
need to be clearly stated, and maybe also there has to be a component about the town of Tiburon as being the primary site for the work,
Right.
not just as a resident, but that the town somehow benefits directly, or the town residents benefit directly from work. And I'm not saying that here that's not the case. There is some of that, and I asked him to add that information, which he did in the highlighted sections. Patty?
So yes, I just want, I'm just going to reiterate that too, and I spoke to the chair about this ahead of time. So if you put an ad hoc committee together, I did not include, because everyone's read it many times,
It's on.
it's on.
It's on.
Everyone has read it several times, so it was not included here. It's come back with the Ellie Block action item every time. The commemorative book outline and guidelines as they already stand are pretty specific about Tiburon-centric, things done directly related to Tiburon. And we have come a lot, as I've said many times, come a long ways with Mr. Block, and he's done a wonderful job, and she's done so much. But when the ad hoc goes back to consider rewriting, which is what is an old document already, just to bear that in mind and keep all those guidelines in mind, because I get several requests all the time, every month, for plaques, for all kinds of things. So it's really key that this is tight and applies to everyone equally, because there are many worthy people and many people who love this town and all kinds of reasons why they would like to be commemorated, and we just can't accommodate everyone. So there have to be guidelines, and I do agree. I hope that Mr. Block will accept that we could help rewrite this into a shorter and more concise narrative of her life for the book, staying within the guidelines. Thanks.
I think we do have guidelines. It is quite a few pages. If you have copies of those at hand, whoever comes and asks for it,
I do
you
give
say,
them to everyone.
yeah, this is the guidelines. If you
Right.
can meet it, please take this copy, read it, and then you can
99% of the
decision.
people, I hand that to them and they don't come back.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
Right.
the only way to do it.
But they do
and
need
then
to be-
correction is not up to us to correct.
Well, you got the point, and the reason I didn't say anything, I did indicate that I thought it was way too long and it was hard to read,
Yeah.
but I felt it was
But we can
disrespectful. I
correct
thought
it.
it was submitted by the person who loved her, you know, and I
loved
didn't know
ones.
what our position was, and I wonder if we could, review the guideline, maybe put a statement there that anything submitted is subject to, review by the commission or by someone. So I just thought, at least review it. You're right, so.
I mean, I think Mr. Block, in my interactions with him is, his goal is to have something in
He's
the
a
book.
wonderful
And so I
gentleman.
think he's going to be okay with, some editorial work on this piece. I mean, yeah. And it's okay to have several drafts. I mean, it's taking some time.
Yeah.
This is a second draft.
Oh, it's only the second, then it's
Yeah,
fine.
it's a second draft, yeah.
I thought maybe it
The
was the
poor
fifth
man,
time.
I
It
mean,
seems like it was the
he keeps
fifth time.
coming and
Yeah.
trying so
I've
hard
seen it.
to get this
Right.
through.
And I mean, it is obvious that she's a very accomplished woman. I mean, she's
Yeah,
done so
she
much in her
is.
life, and it should be, it should be acknowledged. But again, if the guidelines specify that it has to be focused on her contributions to Tiburon, then we need
Yes.
to pare it down,
But
and we
for
need to
Mr.
edit
Block
it.
is-
And also, is
finished.
there a
We
word
can't do
limit?
That's what I was thinking. So I'm like, Twitter, 140
Yes,
characters
but
or
at the
something.
moment, we have come to a point for Mr. Block that
We seem to have
we
dragged
really
along a
need
long
to
time.
say, okay, but from now on, we really have to be very
Well,
aware of it.
Yeah,
Because
it's been-
he, I don't know, he's such a nice gentleman. He comes
Well,
and
he doesn't
he's
have
so
to-
desperate about
He
it.
doesn't have to do anything else. All he has to do is agree
agree
that
to
we
the
can
addition.
edit it.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it.
just
So
we.
We're not asking him to go back and rewrite anything.
No.
We will do the writing.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
let's just.
this is a,
In fact,
I'll
we might be
finish
able
this
to,
up.
we might even say, just to sort of hasten the process, maybe if you could take a crack at it, Nora, and then send it to me, and then I can say, this is what we have,
Yeah,
yes.
just change it to this, and please,
Then we can get on with it.
Yeah, maybe you can make a motion of correcting it, putting it there, but we
The
have
motion
to
was
be
going to
very
be
aware
approve the
next
letter. We are
time.
not doing that. So
Right.
this is going to be continued.
Right.
Is what it is.
Oh, the
So
poor
there is
thing.
no motion.
Might die on us. He's an old gentleman.
Did we
I'm
want to
so
go with my
scared.
suggestion, I think, ad hoc? Because the other thing to think about, if it's everything is Tiburon-centric, what about we have a vice president who lives in Tiburon, and maybe there should be a commemorative or a big sports star, which we did have a plaque for the Chapman. Is that in the guidelines, that we have these notables that might be residents and also, you know, citizens?
I
of
don't have
For
the
this
guidelines with
book-
me,
Well,
so
that's
I
what I
can't
was thinking,
memorize
maybe
them.
we could, you know, look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
For
Enough.
this
We-
book, there is a guideline, and quite a few pages.
We all
We
have the
could
guideline. It
review
was
it and
presented at
maybe-
several meetings, so,
Yeah.
and I'm happy
So as
to
far as-
send it to
I
whoever
know,
the ad
I've
hoc
seen it
is.
before, yeah.
So
Mr.
do we-
Block goes, I think he's really desperate about this.
I-
could move this one forward, that's what I said.
Yeah, move it forward.
Edits.
with
Okay,
it. Okay, so
I
there
move
is
that-
going to be a motion, okay.
yeah,
With the edits.
yeah.
Yes,
And subject to his.
Approval.
please, thank you.
Okay, it's been done.
Okay, who has the motion and who's seconding? And can you word it, please?
You want to do it? Okay.
Nora.
Let me see how it's phrased in the, I'm making a motion to review the submission on behalf of Ellie Block's accomplishments to be placed in the Tiburon Town Hall Commemorative Book with edits that both myself and Vice Chair Arjun Gupta will do, and then submit to Mr. Block. Okay, to Mr. Block for approval, and we will make those edits in line with the guidelines set forth for the Town Hall Commemorative Book, including the fact that the accomplishments should focus on accomplishments for the town of Tiburon.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Block was not at the meeting before, but he may have joined.
You have to ask everyone.
No.
Oh, shh.
Can't believe I have three computers here and no email. Okay, so we will have a roll call vote.
Okay.
Commissioner Atamat,
Yes,
Commissioner Gupta,
Yes?
Commissioner Hall. Fran, we are,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Fong,
Yes.
Commissioner Noguez. All in favor, aye, thank you.
Right.
And action item number 4.
number 4, we move on. We receive update on dairy project, dairy mural project, and consideration A, approval of a letter supporting their grant request for the for these musicians that you're asking to be performing during the yes, please. If you can give us a report, thank you. Update.
First is just to show what is attached as Exhibit 1, which has been
updated.
But it was also seen at the actual groundbreaking ceremony. It's been approved by the president and all of the tile for the president of Portugal. And it will be along the top of the dairy mural.
Top of, yes. Every time I go for a walk, I look at it to see if they have done that or not. Yes, I have taken these photographs just to remind us, because this is the only tile, the only place that it is acknowledging that it is Heritage and Arts Commission. Yeah, it is kind of tiny, but yeah.
And then, so the update is that the dairy mural project, which you've seen the drawings for the landscaping, so that had to go before post, and so myself and the.
Is your microphone on? It doesn't seem like.
Sorry.
There we go.
So, just to go back, we looked at exhibit number 1, which was the Portuguese dairy tile, which was the dedication tile by the President of Portugal, which has been approved according to the President's requirements, and it will be placed along the top of the dairy mural wall. Moving to item number 2, I will wait on that just to give you an oral update on the status of the Portuguese dairy mural wall project, which is that the landscaping drawings that were prepared by David Schwartz, who is the landscape architect who is donating his time to prepare the plans and essentially make them reality, was present before the last meeting of POST. POST is Parks, Open Space, and Trails Commission. They received the drawing, they made comments to those drawings, and the drawings were revised and are now in the hands of David Eshu and will go before the town council for final approval. Their basic comments were that they wanted to include more native plants, so the trees were removed, and there was another plant, I can't remember off the top of my head, that they didn't want. So we'll be using the succulents, we'll be using possibly rosemary, but low landscaping around the project, no trees. And everybody was very happy with that because, like I said, they wanted to focus on native plants.
Are they going to have that Pride of Madeira?
No,
Okay, yeah, that's more of a weed.
yeah. No.
Actually, I went there one day. It was supposed to be stones, cobblestones in front of it, but now they have done a beautiful job of putting tiles.
They're not cobblestones per se, but
No, I
they
was
were never
expecting
meant
to see
They were
that.
never meant to be cobblestones. It's the calçadas are sort of the Portuguese equivalent of a cobblestone.
I see.
You know,
I see. It looks really beautiful. It has
yeah.
a very lovely
Yeah.
design to it.
Yes.
It's
yes.
going to be beautiful.
And actually, the artist who did that was also brought over from Portugal to
Yes.
lay those. He's actually called a calcetero because he lays calzadas.
Yeah.
And that was what was placed in front.
Lovely.
So, yeah. And then Exhibit 2 is a letter that we were requested to look at and see if we approved it. And that is because there is a group called Daniel Pereira Cristo that would like to perform at the ribbon cutting ceremony in June of 2023. And they have applied for a grant through the Camões Instituto da Cooperação da Língua. And the contact for that is the Honorable Pedro Pinto, who is the Consul General of the Republic of Portugal in San Francisco. So that is just a letter. We are not being asked for any money. We are just being asked if these people could play, could they get money to be able to come over here from
And you'll
Portugal?
see that the paper one is different than the online one.
I was just going to
And
ask.
the reason is, at the last minute, literally yesterday, and I did send a little note to everybody about that,
Yeah.
it was changed because the original one really made no sense. You couldn't figure out what was actually being asked for. So I went to Greg Chanis, who I had to check with already first anyway, to see if it was okay for the Heritage and Arts Commission to support the idea of requests for grants to anyone else. And yes, it is. Absolutely. Okay, so all this is a letter supporting a request for a grant to this, the Camoes. Am I saying that right? Camoes?
I think so.
And this same template could be used for anyone that they might reach out to.
Right.
All we're doing is adding our support. So it would be a template support letter for that type of thing. And Greg actually gave me the wording from other ones that have been used. Short, sweet, we hereby give our grant support.
I would definitely support this as a great group, and I'm glad they're using native to Portuguese, the equipment, the instrument, as well as folk songs. I really like that.
This
I'm glad.
letter was quite a surprise to me because Nora and Patty have been talking about it, and they never put me in the picture. I don't want to have any say in it, but I should have been included in your. I suddenly see a letter with my name as the signature. It really shocked me. I had to call Patty at 9 in the morning and find out, hey, what's going on, But it's a nice letter. We will be supporting, in my opinion. It is a fantastic job they have done, and we will always support them fully.
Thank you.
And then especially those dancers and the performances that they are going to have in the ribbon cutting. Will that be on the site?
That's June 8th is the ribbon cutting. There are a number of dignitaries that will be, I don't have all their names, that will be
Okay.
coming from Portugal again, not the president as far as we know. So I can't represent that he's coming. But there will be foreign dignitaries. He was a wonderful human being.
He was,
Yeah.
the way that he's holding this tile up
Yeah.
in his,
Yeah.
above his head, that was really wonderful.
I do have one question. Any final samples of the signage?
Not yet. They're still
Not yet,
working on
so
that language. And
It
will come to us, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So do we have a motion on the letter?
Yeah, we will support. Anybody, would you like to put a motion in?
All right. I guess I'm making all
Or
the
you-
motions. I move that the Heritage and Arts Commission support this letter of support for the project to get more grants for the ribbon cutting ceremony.
I would, well, okay, I would reword it to say that we accept the letter as supporting the grant request for the musician Daniel Pereira Cristo, and to also be used as a template,
Not the letter. Oh, you want this as a template?
and also as a template.
Okay.
It is a
Go ahead.
template.
Okay, so I just made that motion. So
Okay.
is there?
I second.
Okay. Seeing as how there's nobody at our meeting, I'm back in there. I'm going to take a chance and take a vote.
Sure you want to do that?
All right, yeah, because Deirdre is here.
Oh, really?
I know, it's just too bad. I was going to say, almost at every meeting, there's always some technical problem. I was at that NARAL, and Airmen. I mean, you would think with all these dignitaries and everything. It went blank for a while, and then they had to do something else, but everything worked out, but.
No comments? No, absolutely.
This is true technical service.
Easy, isn't it? Okay.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Hi.
I would like to respectfully request that I give a little introduction to the first discussion item, Chair. Come on.
Yes. Please.
Okay. Yes, the first discussion item is discuss groundwork for proposal of town ordinance to support funding for public art. Just a little background that the reason that the very long and well-done attachment from Los Gatos about their process of bringing a first draft ordinance to their town council in Los Gatos was to not to read the whole thing here or even necessarily before the meeting, but to show how it works and how detailed and long the process is, and ultimately led to an ordinance. So when I talked to both, I went to Dina Tassini, the Community Development Director, and Greg Chanis for direction on how this works. And you basically need to request an ordinance, that an ordinance be considered for public art to the town council. You can do it by talking to Greg Chanis, the town manager, who will just turn around and ask to have it put on an agenda. Or you can talk to a town council member, and they can ask to have it put on the agenda. And then, as you would, if you did have time to read that, almost under all circumstances, the town council will then direct staff to go and hire a consultant, find a professional who will then research what are the possibilities and probabilities in a place like Los Gatos, which is very much like Tiburon, where they don't have a lot of commercial building left to do. They don't have a lot of general development left. Where can an ordinance be created, through what mechanism? And then they come back with a report, as you can see if you work your way through that, with possibilities, and then an ordinance is formed at that point on how it could possibly happen. And then it's brought as a first draft. So there's money involved in hiring people, but the first step is to just ask that it be considered. Okay. It has nothing to do with the general plan, just to separate those two so that there's no confusion there. General plan is just to allow for public art in the town of Tiburon. An ordinance is an entirely different thing, and it is a long, drawn-out process, so be ready for it. Just wanted to give that background of how it works. So that's why that long and very interesting, actually, I found it interesting how many steps there are. I had no idea myself that a consultant was involved. So that's it for the discussion part, not voting on anything.
Okay. What we really want is a permanent funding from the town council. When I was here for that, asking for a donation from them, the whole council members were really excited about this public art coming in. And even our mayor asked Greg Channing that if we do we have any funding for this, a permanent funding? But he said no, of course. So what I'm suggesting is to create an ad hoc, which I really would like to be in it. And then I used to be one with Victoria Fong. And then we can ask Arjun, because everybody listens to him. He's so likable, but he knows how to talk and so on. And as soon as it is possible, we can get together, put our heads together, and create something to bring it up and have take it to sit with Greg Channing. And actually, what I want to know is if there is an ordinance, it shouldn't be on Heritage and Arts to create it. It should be created by town council.
I know, and that's what I just said.
Yeah, this sample that we have, it's wonderful. I remember that for so many months we all did our homework trying to find out how other cities around here are doing. But still, I feel that Tiburon is different to Los Gatos. Los Gatos is larger, has more things. We are a smaller town, and maybe it will be not so many steps to get there.
It's the same.
Since I feel the council members are really there to help us on
let me
this.
tell you, that's why I went to Greg Chanis and Dina Tassini first. It's the same process. It is not different than
Yeah.
Los Gatos. And
Okay.
you don't have to create the ordinance. That's what I said. You simply come to ask for an ordinance
Okay.
to support public art. And then there needs to be
Sounds good.
expert input, and the town
Okay.
council directs staff to go and they vote to pay for that kind of input
Okay.
to create an ordinance. It is not done by the H&A.
Now, shall we create this ad hoc so that we can get on with it and not discuss further all over again?
I'm willing to serve since
The problem
We
is we
started
have
out
to make a
4 years.
motion to have an ad hoc committee. This is not an action item.
Could
We can do
one of
that,
you guys can do
but you
it,
can
somebody?
certainly just go and speak with Greg Chanis. This does not take an ad hoc committee.
Let's just go see him.
Yeah,
Let's just go speak to him.
yeah.
Can I just say?
Well, I like the two of you to come with me.
Sure.
Well, sure.
So that is
As
called
long
ad
as you are
hoc.
not a quorum, you can go and speak to.
My only other suggestion is that I want to give credit to all the work other people have done on this project.
Yes.
And I think another one is a couple of the other cities, they are much larger than ours, but they have very good documentation, was Walnut Creek, and I believe Trish did Lafayette. That was very good. And the only other one that I have seen that was fairly detailed was Albany, but I think it was Albany.
Well, those
But
are
anyway,
all
so
samples.
maybe just throwing it out, so if anybody wants to be, more in tune with what we're trying to do and understand. Thanks.
Just to give Arjun a little history on this. So what happens is when I was chair, and people kept saying, we need money, I said, we need to look at how other jurisdictions are funding their public art. So each of us was assigned a jurisdiction, and we talked to each jurisdiction in kind and brought back a report. I did Los Gatos, and so, or I don't remember if I actually did Los Gatos, but I contacted Los Gatos because I said, we are considering an ordinance. So municipalities are usually very generous in sharing their information because there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. So this is what they sent back to me, and I brought it before our fellow commissioners to say, look, this is what it's going to take to get an ordinance passed. But we, as Patty so succinctly said, it's not our job to do that. So if the three of you want to go to the town and request an ordinance, these are essentially, this document lays out the steps that Los Gatos took to be able to get an ordinance.
We have a town attorney too, so.
Right.
But we'll move it forward.
But
to
I'm,
the
I'm
next
also assuming that in hiring a consultant, there's, a responsibility that the town has to do that.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
it's
it's
not
part
our
of the steps and everything.
Right, yeah, and they have to have money to do it, and
Well-
they have to want to do it, and
Well,
also
it is
that,
up to them to make a decision how they want to help us, because we have come to a point that we really need their help. And they can see how much work we are putting together to just do one.
Well, why don't we three,
Right.
we
Please,
can meet
let's-
for a coffee at some
Yes,
point and then
please.
talk about how we're going to present this idea.
Okay.
And then we can go
We'll
in and
make
talk to
an
Greg.
appointment
Greg is
with
the
him.
person that we're speaking with, right?
Yeah,
We'll
you,
make
as
an
I said, it can
appointment.
go through,
Yes.
either the town manager or a town council member if you feel that you have their ear.
Okay.
right. And the other thing, and I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but one of the things that I think a number of us have been saying from the beginning is you can't just ask for money in the ether. You have to have projects that
Right.
you raise the money for. And I think this has been a wonderful, example and experience of when you put together a really good proposal for a piece of art, people will support it. And now, what's wonderful about the H&A is we have concrete examples of what we can do and what we have done, and it's been successful. So we have a lot more, credibility.
Leverage.
Right?
Yeah.
When we go before the town council to
Right.
say, look what we've done, we want to do more of this, we have a track record now, this is a proposal for getting money.
Exactly.
We'd like an ordinance.
Right.
Very
I think it's the right time too, so.
So let's do that and start it, because we wouldn't
Good job.
push it back again and wait around. It doesn't work out. Now the COVID is finished, we can go ahead.
Okay, so we're moving on to discussion item number 2.
So the ad hoc, we don't need to
No,
take a
Right.
vote on it?
no.
Okay.
You
we do
can't,
it.
because it's not an action item.
Okay,
But we can just meet.
all right. So the next one
Discussion
is,
item number 2?
review update on Town Hall Gallery opening. Yeah, I was talking, oh, sorry.
So item number 3 should be item number 2? Because it says item number 3, there's no 2.
That's true.
Oh, that's
Number
how
2,
strange.
yes,
I don't know
number
why
2.
that shows up, because I'm looking at my agenda and it says item number 2.
Oh,
There are only 2.
Mine says number 3.
right, so just,
Online.
Okay.
Isn't that
I
weird?
didn't even notice that, thank you.
Huh.
okay.
Okay, well, there are only 2. At one point, the dairy mural was part of the discussions, and I wonder if it hung on to that, because on the printed one, it's gone. Okay.
Yes.
There are only 2.
So,
Thank you.
I talked with Patty about this. We thought it would be, I really wanted to start showing art downstairs in the lobby and here in this room, the council chamber. Then we started talking about Thomas Jackson. Installation is in May. If we can do piece of his artwork in the lobby, not in here because this is too big, in the lobby for that whole month. And then the following month, we can put artwork from the artist who created the mural and put his art there. And if they want to have a little reception, they could have it. We can have it right there downstairs, because upstairs is still out. So what do you think about that?
I like it a lot, and I think we could use a little of the general fund money for the reception and maybe use up some wine.
Yeah.
Then we have to ask Thomas Jackson and mention that is what we would like.
Yeah.
Even if he has 4 pieces, that would be fantastic.
I think that's perfect.
But I had promised him that we will put his prints in a frame, but that's going to cost us money. Maybe we should
Well,
ask.
maybe his representation in the East Coast will ship us framed prints.
Yes, please. And may I
I'll ask her.
ask you, Arjun, to ask him about that?
Sure.
And
I-
the artist, are you
Joao
familiar
de Brito, yeah.
with the artist?
Yes.
Maybe you can take that on your shoulder
That's fine.
to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Yeah.
So it will be May and June.
Correct.
And then in July, we will be ready to start our own show. We have to still think about whether we want to do a group show for a month before we can start our waiting list, or just go straight into our wait list and ask them to
And
start.
the people who were on the waiting list are, I updated the calendars. You can see it shows May and
Yes.
June for the Thomas Jackson and the mural art. What is the mural artist's name one more
Joao
time?
de Brito.
Wow.
De
Joao-
Brito.
De Brito.
Yeah, DeBrito.
Oh, De Brito.
He lives in
Then I
Marin.
listed the,
Sausalito,
No, 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 no.
No.
I think it's near,
Marin City,
no, hold on. Near Santa Cruz. Yeah.
Santa Cruz.
right.
Oh, well,
that way.
that's very nice.
that's
I
great.
think he would be very pleased because he
think
was
it's
so proud of his work.
And so you can see there that as of the last time I contacted these people, Jet Walker was still interested, Maggie Baylor, even though Maggie Baylor actually moved away, but she was still seemed to be interested. So I think that's very iffy. It's been a while. Marta Wendinger contacts me periodically. She's still interested. The Marin Watercolor Society, I think it would be hard to say what the artists are showing again now, so we don't know what any of their rotations are on being available, but they were interested, and Sandra Wolfson was still interested. So that was 5 potential people waiting in the wings
Great.
that I still have on here.
I have 2 questions.
And of course, I haven't started calling the
Well, that's
older
the group.
ones.
That's the
Yeah.
group. These were the ones that
Yeah.
were.
So again, just as a matter of correction, where it says would like spring 2021 in
Oh,
columns
yeah,
GH.
those are just old.
So those should, but I'll say 24?
They just haven't been, yeah, I just didn't change that. That was the last time I could have taken it out. That was all in the past. You can
Okay, so just
ignore that.
disregard columns
Yes.
GH and I, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because you can see moving to
Let-
2021.
I'm pretty sure Sandra Wilson will.
Yeah, a couple questions. I thought the building's not going to be open until August.
Well, that was my
July
question.
is
July.
supposed to be.
July.
We don't,
Okay, that makes a difference. I just want the commission to consider. I know the library is doing a local artist,
yes.
what they call
I saw
by
that too.
94920.
Right.
And all of these people are going to be, maybe submitting, they will be contacted. So we could maybe do it in conjunction together, but it'll be kind of awkward because they're going to be submitting to
So-
the art call.
Maybe we can start by our original plan of doing
The former artists.
yeah, we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
We can ask. I can start calling these the old artists who have shown here before to create a group show.
Yeah, well, you're on the art committee, so I'm sure you'll see the list of artists that
Yeah,
that
and
would
we
be
will make
considered
sure-
local. And
Yeah, it is kind of a different.
it's a little
venue.
bit different, but
It is different because we are not really sending an art call after them. We may have more people willing to show here. And then we always had upstairs and downstairs 2 different times.
yeah, you have singular artists, whereas at the library now it's all group shows.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Nora?
one question then. So the HVAC will be done by July?
You know, there's no guarantee to
Well,
anything.
no,
But we're hoping.
But projected by July
And
1st?
another little zinger I just got today, but I would hope that it's going to coincide with the HVAC, is that they're going to finally, as you remember, they repainted here. They're going to repaint in the same color scheme, finally get rid of the green that's in the lobby and goes upstairs, and it'll all be this light color, which will be wonderful. I just hope that happens during the HVAC thing and they don't do it after. I would hate to see them painting in that gallery. I told Greg that when we want to open in July. So I think the plan is that HVAC will get done and the painters will come right in to the gallery, get that done. But it's a big job for the painting, but painting doesn't take as long as that. So I'm hoping it's all done by July.
So we're shooting for July 1st.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, yes, because downstairs,
Okay.
we're talking about for the two,
Right, right.
those two artists, and
Okay.
hoping
Well,
that by July we can actually have a show.
I think to Nora's question also, you know, the Thomas Jackson actual installation, right, is slated for May 20th through to July, like the weekend after July 4th, something like that. So I'm just wondering, how will that work? Do we want his work up here in the lobby before the installation opening then? Is that?
Well, the
correct?
idea, I think, was that that would create some buzz.
Okay.
Yeah.
Creating
Okay.
buzz
So I'll tell him we'd like to show his work
of June.
for the month of May.
May.
May, I mean.
Month of May. Yeah. Okay. I'll let him know that.
And then,
And then month of
assu-
June.
And then assumedly that work, now I'm going to jump back, but didn't you want it to be upstairs too at some point, or was that just
Well, I
the
think
May?
after our discussion today, I think, you know, I think it's okay to just have, I think it's better to have it here, so we do make room for other artists, and they need to do their work also upstairs or whatever, you know, that's fine. And we just want about four to six, you know, his pieces are small for the most part, you know, so we just want a few prints up.
Right. So I'm wondering if it's going to be down in the lobby, I mean, if the idea is to drive people towards the actual installations, the Dairy mural, or if it's not even going to open till maybe it could go from all of May into a couple weeks in June, and then could start the mural. Because it's downstairs, it can go on longer into the summer. I'm just saying, give them both a little more time with their artwork up.
Well, but the groundbreaking is June 8th.
I know it's a ground, yeah, great.
I mean, the ribbon cutting is June 8th.
Oh, there was June 20, I guess.
No.
it was-
I mean, I think for
No, I'm
for
thinking
both
of
of
May
these
20.
projects, ultimately, you can extend the life of the project online as well.
Right.
But I also think that, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I agree with Nora that we're not a gallery, you know, to sell.
Right.
So I think the reason to have his work up longer would ultimately be to sell. But we could still, you know, get some revenue in from this project with him, with online representation, and maybe, you know, I don't know, we can have one or two pieces, you know, after June, we can
Right.
have Zhao's pieces here too, as well as his pieces, one or
Right.
two in the lobby. Why not?
Right.
Right,
Okay, I guess that's what I meant. Could
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
live on downstairs?
sure, sure.
Okay, fine, yeah.
But
Throughout
let's
the
give Thomas his
life of-
space, and let's give Joao his space also for
And
the month
then
of
talk
June,
about
and then in
mixing
July
it
we can.
possible.
And
Continue.
we should put the date of installation of each artist on the wall beside
Oh,
their
that's
work.
the idea.
Yes.
So
Yes, that's what I
they
mean.
see what it is going to be and when it is going to be installed.
Of course.
And with the date of installation and finish
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the thing. We have to have it really nice and big written there. Everybody sees it for both of them, for both artists.
I was just going to
Yes,
say.
Nora?
Instead of saying older artist, former artist.
Former artists.
Former artist,
Former artists.
yeah.
All right.
So what
So-
do you think about July opening?
we just have to wait
We have to wait another.
and make sure
Shall
that
I?
it's...
Would you like me to start calling these people?
I think that it's best, let me ask, get an
Yes?
update on how we are doing first, and then start calling.
Yeah,
I just want to make
If you
sure.
give me a go-ahead,
Right.
Patty, you have made a list of them. You can give me a go-ahead.
Well, you've
And
made you have the list.
I have the list, but you copied all of it. You said you'd put it on a sheet.
Yeah, yeah.
If you have that ready, you can give it to me, and I can
Can
go,
go from that,
over
right.
each of them.
I will
Yeah.
get that ready.
Because
It
I'm
is
not sure
ready
if everybody
yet.
is available or
Once
not.
again, I just don't think that either we work together with the library, otherwise you're going to be calling these artists if they promise to show here and they get selected by the library. I just hope August 17th to October, and it's
Could the
all
two of you
local.
work together on it with her lists and yours?
Well, we have an art call going out
Ah.
to 94920 Oni. So I don't,
That makes sense.
I'm happy to work together in either way, just so that I would like to just work together and showcase more local artists, but I don't want to sort of like overlap.
Maybe you can then work, if you're working together, you know, you can just figure out who's showing where. And just,
Yeah, share the list.
And
But
the library is a little bit, library
They're
is
going
being
to choose,
juried by the
but-
new,
yeah.
there's a new
You
art
see,
gallery.
You see, the
She's
one,
going to be jurying the local.
yeah, the one in library is being juried, but we are not jurying. We are allowing
that-
them to
that makes
put their
things-
shows on, but in a way, we have to jury. But if you're going to ask the previous ones, they already have shown here, so they have kind of half juried because they already have. So we don't need to worry about it. So, anyways, I think we should really get going on
right.
that.
Well, understanding the timing with the library's process is probably a key
Definitely
thing in
is,
terms of
yeah.
when are they jurying, who are the artists that they're selecting, and
I do know the art call's
I'm
going to
going to
open April
submit, by
20th.
the way.
April?
I'm going to
Oh, great.
submit.
But it'll be juried, so we have, we'll
Well,
say by
I'm
Celeste.
hoping
You
for
know
the jury.
Celeste?
Celeste? No.
Yeah, she's going to be the new owner of it.
Consider letting that conversation, you might want to discuss it in adjourning.
Oops.
Calendar dates, I would just mention,
Yes.
next concert at Old St. Hilary's, April 16. The next regular H&A meeting is April 25. And Chair Etamad has suggested that that would be a joint meeting with the remaining PASP members, because you'd be doing the finalizing of the plans for the
Right.
for the
And
Thomas
I won't
Jackson
be
opening.
here either.
Correct. And
For
Vice
the
Chair will be
next-
running that meeting.
The next meeting, I won't be here.
Right.
Not the June, the April. In April meeting, I won't be here, but Arjun will take over, and you will have to finalize things for the parties and so on.
Okay. Correct. Correct.
Yes.
And then May 20, the official opening of Thomas Jackson, and June 8, the official ribbon cutting ceremony of the Derry Mural Project.
Yeah.
We're adjourning the meeting at 7:35 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you. We will say goodbye. We are done. Thank you.
That was good.
Good meeting. Good meeting.